So we have a slight change to our programming, and we're going to have James Drage from HEROIQ come on. I know he's been on the program before, and I'm sure some of you have met him in person and had the pleasure of seeing him and chatting with him at our previous May Summit. And I've got the pleasure of speaking with you today, James, to talk around some of the new projects that you're involved in, but more importantly, around the topic of looking at the different things of neuroplasticity, if I can wrap my tongue around that properly. But pleasure to have you on, James. Those in the audience that aren't aware of who you are, please give us a quick 30, 60-second background about yourself and what you're currently doing.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. The quick background, I came from the M&A industry originally, did a few startups, exited the startups, went into the venture capital space, have been investing in venture capital for about 20 years. Somehow we got into addiction and behavioral health as a main area of concentration. And, around COVID, we had some investments in the addiction rehab space. So, think about a rehab where people go 30, 60, 90 days. I'm in Canada. Our investments in the rehab space, anyway, were in Canada. And a lot of them got shut down during COVID. And we were really trying to figure out, this is healthcare, and yet it was shut down, and many people who needed help were not able to get it. And, it's a longer story than I have to tell today, but, we use this program called Exponential Organizations, Salim Ismail, some people may know, and they really forced us to look at what would a 10x success be in that line of business. And it wasn't about going from, 10 million to 100 million in sales or, increasing the profits. It was exponentially expanding the number of people we could reach. And the only way we could do that was digital health. You can't build enough rehab spaces. You can't train enough therapists, counselors, and people to reach everyone who needs help in addiction and behavioral health. But if you create digital solutions, they're essentially infinitely scalable. They meet, I'm a big fan of, Singularity University. They have the 6 Ds about digitizing, demonetizing, disrupting. I don't remember them all, dematerializing solutions. And, so what we really did is we started a side fund called Abundance Behavioral Health Holdings and started investing in digital health projects only. And so that was probably more than a minute. Mm-hmm. But, what's happened over that time, over the last couple of years, what we found as we've started investing, we've become very much fans of digital therapeutic video games. I know that there's been a lot of, I'll quote unquote, failures on the business side, that some of the hype has not lived up to their promises. But we're big fans of it. And, as you alluded to, in the quote unquote title of this discussion, is really what we've learned is that digital therapeutic video games can help build, repair, and strengthen neural connections and central nervous system connections in a way that, we would say takes advantage of neuroplasticity. And when you do that, when your neuroplasticity, when your brain heals or your brain gets stronger, when you build, repair, and strengthen neural connections, what happens is the pause between stimulus and response increases. Mm-hmm. People don't jump automatically into fight, flight, or freeze. And so they can then access in their subconscious or other ways best practices to control, depression, anger, PTSD type thoughts, deal with brain injuries and concussions. It's mind-boggling to me the number of indications that we've learned neuroplasticity can help.
No, that's fantastic, James. Yeah, I mean, look, you had a quick word with me before we got on about, this new project that you're on, and it certainly sounds really fascinating. And to delve a little bit more into sort of looking at the benefits around digital therapeutics, and obviously promoting neuroplasticity, as you mentioned. I know you are also sort of concerned about how that also focuses on the underserved populations as well. And we'd love to hear more about sort of how that addresses, the underserved populations, through the use of these digital therapeutics.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. Look, when we were in the rehab space, rehab was expensive. We were $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month. And so, we were for rich people, essentially, or people that had tremendous support. But there's lots of underserved populations. And so one of the things that we decided when we, so I should say that, what happened, Jerry, is we ended up selling the rehabs. We had a big methadone pharmacy chain. We sold the methadone pharmacies. What we did is we got rid of everything that couldn't scale through digital solutions. And we took the money that we got from that and we started, that's what we're using to invest in these digital solutions. But, if you look at underserved populations, it could be marginalized populations. We're working specifically right now with prisoners in the corrections industry. We're working with some indigenous groups where, especially for behavioral health conditions, there's lots of concurrent or co-occurring disorders. And so because of that, people don't really know how to serve them. But digital, and especially digital games, almost everybody loves to and knows how to play a game. And if you make it fun and engaging, people will do it. People, lots of people have phones or tablets without having a ton of money, and they have access to, internet or data, cellular data, so that they can access these types of games, get the neuroplasticity healing, and so on. And so, I think we just break down a lot of barriers.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right there. That's really interesting to hear. And I know you've been really thoroughly involved in a lot of the design elements as well around sort of digital therapeutics as well. So it'd be great to get an idea from you around sort of expanding on that idea of how digital therapeutics can actually be designed to ensure more accessibility, more inclusivity, particularly with folks that have very varying degrees of digital literacy as well.
Yeah, and it's not just digital literacy, right? You look at things like language problems, or, in the gaming industry, video game industry, they talk a lot about localization. And so, a game needs to be engaging and fun, not just for, the population that I'm in, right? So that, I can't play the game and find it fun. What happens is, I need people who speak different languages or have different cultural traditions, different heritage. We can take a game and you can localize it so that it fits with everybody. And you can do it in a way that, if somebody is not literate, if they don't read or, so on, the game can talk to them. They can talk back to the game. There's lots of games, where there's no speaking or reading whatsoever. One of the best games ever built is a game called Journey, that was built for the PlayStation. It's not a digital therapeutic, but it's a game that requires you to work with somebody else who's also playing the game, who's probably on the other side of the world, who probably doesn't speak your language. And if you don't work together, you can't beat the game. And it's one of the most, people say, cathartic game experiences. People cry when they play this game. They have emotional reactions when they play this game, and it wasn't built as a digital therapeutic. So imagine if you purposefully design a game like that, but you work with scientists, you work with medical professionals, and you work with university and hospital researchers, and you embed in that game digital health ideas and proven ways to build, repair, and strengthen neural connections, as just one example, to deal with depression, to deal with anger, to deal with PTSD, to deal with a brain injury.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I know I'm going to be visiting the PlayStation store at some point to check this game out and see how cathartic it is. So
get that Journey game. I'll play with you.
Sounds good. You have to send me your gamer tag at some point, James, so we can play together. And those of you in the chat, please feel free to put your gamer tags in so we can link with you guys and play Journey together. In terms of sort of looking at neuroplasticity and sort of looking at the different ways and principles of how it can inform the development of effective digital health interventions, can you sort of speak to that in a sort of a more broader sense, James?
Yeah, look, let me first say, of course, I think everybody knows probably on the webinar, I am not a medical professional. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. And so, this is, an investor's take. I've been in the industry for a while now, but, again, as I alluded to earlier, if somebody has, neural connections in their brain that are broken, damaged, or missing, and, that could be because they didn't go through the developmental steps or developmental pathways that they were meant to go through as a child. It could be because they had trauma. It could be because they were exposed to a toxin. It could be because they, took drugs. There's all kinds of reasons your brain gets messed up. And what happens is when the neural connections aren't firing properly, as I said, the pause between stimulus and response that's supposed to be there isn't. And we jump into fight, flight, or freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze is almost always negative. And so, like the simplest way I can describe it is with a game, it's been validated now that you can build, strengthen, and repair neural connections. And the strengthen part is particularly important because, it's not just really to take a weak connection and make it strong. It's to take an existing strong connection and keep it strong so that you don't develop problems in the future. We know about aging, and I don't want to get into dementia, Alzheimer's, and different things, but, there's lots of neural connection implications for some of these, longer term things. And, just as we can repair neural connections, we now are working on, with some of these projects, central nervous system type connections. There's lots of connections through this central nervous system, literally from your head to your toes. And when they get messed up or broken or damaged over time, there's an indication that along with therapies and drugs, that digital therapeutics should be part of the package that we use to heal people.
No, I think that's some amazing points there, James. It's always such a pleasure to have you on the program, James.
Thanks, Jerry. Yeah,
I always learn something new from you every time you come on, and as much as you're not a healthcare provider yourself, there's I think some fantastic insights that you've been able to share with the audience today. And I think you're coming to the summit in December.
I am
as well.
Yes.
So those of you in the audience who want to hear more from James, please do grab your ticket application now and come and meet James and hear more around about the digital therapeutics that he's involved in and the effect it's having on neuroplasticity. I got there in the end with a word. But James, it's a pleasure having you on the program.
Thanks, Jerry.
Do connect.
Always great to be part of HITLAB.
No, absolutely. It's always wonderful to have you on. Thanks so much, James.
Thanks.
Do connect with James on LinkedIn. We have put his LinkedIn details in the chat. And as I said, do please try and get to the summit in December in New York City to connect with him in person and hear more about the work that he's doing, especially around his insights on digital therapeutics as an investor as well.